I have a very special guest for you guys today. I'm so excited. If you are interested in becoming a better public speaker and booking more speaking gigs, this is the episode for you. Make sure you take out a pad, pen, and take a ton of notes because you're about to learn from the best of the best. I just witnessed this man speak on stage at the Elevate event here in Bali, Indonesia, and there are really no words. He blew me away. He blew the rest of the audience away. He's really perfected the craft of public speaking, telling his story, and really creating a movement around his message. The way that he captivated the audience is like something I've never seen before. So his name is Yahya Bakkar. He's coached some of the biggest names in the industry, such as Gerard, Lewis Howes. He has built a 7-figure business off of public speaking. He spoke on stages all over the world, and he is about to break it down for you. So take notes, take notes. He's gonna break it down step by step, how to craft your message, how to deliver a powerful public speech, and how to book more speaking gigs. So without further ado, I'm so excited. Get ready to meet Yahya Bakkar.
So Yahya, I am so excited that we're doing this pod together.
Me too.
So for our listeners and our viewers on the tube, Yahya is an incredible public speaker. Honestly, you're one of the best I've ever seen.
Thank you.
And I love that, you're a family man, you're so heart-centered, and you're just all about giving and providing value, and I really feel that.
Thank you.
Very genuine, and you're just you word things so beautifully. And it comes from your heart. I can see that about you. So I would love to, and before we do dive in, I'd love to hear your story and like how you got to where you are today and how you did learn. Maybe it's natural for you. Maybe this is something you've learned through the years, but how you've become such a powerful public speaker and created this successful business for yourself.
Yeah, so professionally speaking, no pun intended, professionally speaking, I never saw myself as a speaker. When I graduated high school, I wanted to become a personal trainer. And like training was always my therapy during my teen years. I hung out with the wrong crowd and just having something like the gym got me grounded, helped me stay focused, anchored. And so when I graduated, I was like, I'm gonna become a personal trainer. But because I'm the first person in my family to ever get an education in America, and that I grew up with like Middle Eastern parents, they didn't have it. They said personal trainers but don't make any money. You should either become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or like a doctor or a doctor or doctor. And so they kept pressuring being a doctor. So I went to undergrad to become a doctor, take my prerequisites to become a doctor. So I got a full scholarship to Arizona State University for my grades. I had a 4.0 GPA, and about a month in, I'm taking my prerequisites. I'm taking my biology, my chemistry, my physics, and I'm like, what the hell? Like this is not for me. I don't like the educational system. And so I'm talking to Kate, who's my girlfriend. We're doing a long distance relationship. She's now my wife, but she's in Jersey and I'm in Arizona, and I'm like, I'm just sick and tired of trying to study so hard for a test that I'm going to forget, like all the stuff that I'm studying so hard for, I'm going to forget in a few months from now, just so I can get an A on a piece of paper. And she was like, well, what are you passionate about, babe? And ever since I was 14 years old, I would read books on personal development, spirituality, religion, relationship dynamics, health and fitness, anything that can help me become the most alive and best version of myself. And so I just looked at my bookshelf and I'm like, okay. I went on Google and I typed in personal development and spiritual school. And a website comes up. It's called MUM, Maharishi University of Management. It's mum.edu. And I visit the website, and the headline of the website said self-actualization through consciousness-based education. And for me, I identified that as, oh my God, like become the best version of yourself by discovering who you really are. And so I'm telling Kate, I'm like, babe, you gotta go to this website. It's awesome. Like it's an actual school, and they teach like meditation and stuff. Super progressive, AKA hippie, and it just felt like home. And I looked at the website, and it says they would pay me a stipend to come visit the school for a weekend. It's like a visitor's weekend. So I was like, what I got to lose? I went to go to the school, and I fell in love with it. It's very rare to go to an organization or environment or even a university where every single student or member of that community understands the purpose and the mission and the vision of the team or the company. And the theme behind it was like, harmony exists in diversity. The world is my family.
Oh, I love that.
And so I was like, oh my God, this is speaking to me. So I fell in love with the school. 70 students from 70 different countries, all visiting in that one hub spot, right, in Fairfield, Iowa. And then I went back to Arizona, and I was like, I have to make a decision. Do I stay in Arizona, staying with my stepmother? I could graduate debt-free because I have a full scholarship. I don't have to worry about rent or anything like that. Or do I go to this school in Iowa where they taught like meditation, but I don't know anybody there, And what was interesting about the school was they, instead of giving you a report card, they would measure the brain waves. They would give you like every quarter or semester, they would measure your EEGs to see how coherent your brain activity has been.
Whoa. Yeah, this is crazy. I've never even heard of that before.
It's some deep shit. Like, it's like on another level. And so I was like, oh man, what do I do? And so like my mind was telling me stay. My heart, my gut was telling me go there. Even though like I wouldn't know anybody. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to pull the plug. I left everything. My scholarship didn't transfer. So I started I majored in physiology and health with a minor in psychology at that school, still taking my prerequisites to become a doctor. And then fast forward about 3.5 years, I have one more semester until I'm supposed to get my bachelor's degree in physiology and health. I was in organic chemistry class, and Professor Liram was going over whatever he was going over, molecules and all that good stuff. And it was almost as if the volume outside of me went down and the volume in my head went high. And the voice in my head was like, this is not for you, this is for your parents. And that was a scary moment for me. Yep. So I left class, went to my dorm room, cried in fetal position in the corner of my room because I never had a plan B. All I had was plan A. I invested my reputation, my time, everything into telling everyone that, hey, I'm gonna become a doctor. And my whole identity was to make my family proud. And I went to my guidance counselor and said, hey, listen, I'm going to be done. I'm dropping out. She's like, why are you dropping out? You only have 3 months left to finish your semester and to get your degree. I said, my heart is telling me to leave. She's like, hey, listen, I think you should stay and just finish what you started. I wouldn't be doing a good job as a counselor if I don't encourage you to do the right thing. I was like, I get it, but I got to leave. So I left Iowa after being there for almost 3.5 years. And then I went to New Jersey where my father was staying at the time. And I'm the oldest of 7 brothers and sisters. And when I knock on the door, they didn't know that I was going to, be there. So I knock on the door, and they're like, my younger brother was like, oh my God, yeah. So I walk in and I tell my dad the news, and he just flips out. He just goes so crazy. He's like, you finish what you started. You go finish in what you started, or you can't stay in the house anymore. And I respected where he was coming from, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave. So I took both of my bags that I didn't unpack, and I called a few of my friends. And one of my friends, his name is Michael Ribera, comes from a traditional Italian family. He's like, bro, you can just stay with me. Mind you, it's not his home, it's his parents' home. Yeah. So he's like, you can just stay with me. So I go to his house, and I'm a little depressed, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable about like I'm staying in his family's house and it doesn't feel right. And then he was like, I go up to his room. He has a mattress. He doesn't even have a frame in the mattress. It's just like a mattress on the floor, white rooftop, like white ceiling. And I'm laying on his mattress. I'm staring up the ceiling. And I'm just thinking like, man, I should just go back and finish what I started. I should just listen to everybody. And then he lays like right next to me. It was kind of awkward at first, but he lays right next to me in the bed. I look at him, and he's like, I've been thinking about your situation, dude. I think you should become like a motivational speaker and life coach for young people. And I look at him. I'm like, bro, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. Why would anyone listen to a 22-year-old college dropout? I wouldn't listen to my advice. And he's like, just think about it. You got a big-ass mouth, and you like to help people. It's like, might as well just use it to your advantage. And I was like, he's got a point. So I slept on it. Next day, I went on Google and I typed in motivational speaking life coaching programs. And I found 2 programs. One was a speaking program and one was a coaching program. The coaching program was led by Tony Robbins and Chloe Madanes. It's called RMT. And I look at the investment of both programs. I look at the testimonials, the case studies. They both look legit. And I'm like, whoa, that's $9,000 combined. Where am I going to get $9,000? I'm in $50,000 of student debt. I have no degree, no job, and I have $47 in my bank account total. no savings, nothing. And I'm staying at my friend's house. Felt like I was at rock bottom. But when you're at rock bottom, the beautiful thing is the only direction you got to go is up. And so I was like, all right, let me just figure out a way to make this happen. Let me get resourceful. I actually was like on YouTube and I saw a video of Tony Robbins, and it was titled Resources versus Resourcefulness. He said, it's not about the resources that you have, AKA the money. It's about how resourceful you can be.
So true. 100%.
So the time, the energy, the will, the determination. So I was like, all right. So I started calling everybody who I've never talked to, and I was like, hey, I know we're Facebook friends. I know we haven't talked to each other in like 20 years or so, but I'm gonna become a motivational speaker and life coach for young people. I'm gonna change people's lives, and I just need $9,000. And everybody I could have worked on my pitch, but everybody just kept hanging up. And it was embarrassing, but I just kept going. I probably made over 500 phone calls, and 2 people said yes, but not to the total 9,000. They're like, listen, I'll give you 2,000. So I ended up raising $4,000 from the 2 people, and then I got 2 jobs, one as a waiter and one as a chiropractor's assistant.
I just want to take a second because so when you started out talking about all of this, the conversations that are going on, not only in your head, but what people are saying to you, you know, your teacher, your parents, your friends, there's so much coming in. And at the same time, your dedication, your resourcefulness, I think this is such a important thing for people who do have a vision, or at least know that they're meant for something more than like what you know, being a doctor, for example, what you're supposed to be and doing what you really want to do. It takes really filtering through all the messages, filtering through all that communication and seeing like what's true for me. And then literally stopping at nothing. Like you were relentless, you were resourceful. So I just love that.
Thank you.
It's
and
so
I think
important.
It's hard sometimes, you know, especially, well, I'll speak for myself. It was very difficult for me because I didn't have a very clear picture or plan on what that would look like. I just did my best to trust that, there has to be something more.
That's key though.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step.
Exactly.
So many of us will be in like analysis paralysis. We're not moving because we're like, well, crap, I don't know exactly how that's going to work out. The how. We obsess over it. And at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about the why. It's about the vision, the long term, and just going as we go, we get the answers.
Exactly. And what I've learned in that process is that clarity comes from action, not thought. So if we're looking for the exact step-by-step process, well, you'll uncover that by actually taking action to where you want to go. So it's crazy. It's insane because by making that decision, getting the 2 jobs, I was within 1 year, I invested in both of the programs. And so that was back in 2011, January 2011. In January 2012, I was the youngest graduate in the coaching program, Tony Robbins coaching program. And I was in a space with psychotherapists, psychologists, like people who were like super credentials. And I felt like imposter syndrome, like, oh, who am I? And I'm this young kid. I really got into coaching to coach myself because I was going through my own shit. But then I ended up learning, implementing, living by example, doing my best to walk my talk, and then paying it forward to support others. And then with the speaking, I won Student of the Year at the speaking program. And then I started becoming the dean of students of that speaking program, teaching other aspiring speakers how to build a successful speaking career.
Wow.
And I went all in with speaking because at the time, you know, being a life coach is very general.
Yes.
And I was 22 years old.
Yes.
And so whether I agree with it or not, the immediate assumption is, you're 22 years old. What are you going to teach me about life? Right? So I was like, okay, that's fine. I do have a big ass mouth though. So I'm going to go all in with speaking, share my own story about overcoming adversity and overcoming the personal challenge that I should be a statistic technically, but I'm not. And here's what gives me the permission and also hopefully the opportunity to add value into your life. And so I did that, and that went through for almost a decade.
Wow. And here you are now.
Here I am now.
And you speak all over the world?
Yeah. So the honest truth is I used to speak all over the world until I realized that wasn't the right business model for me and the path that I want to take to impact the masses. So in 2016, 2017, I had over 120 paid speaking engagements traveling all around the world. I did tours in Malaysia, in London, in Canada, in Amsterdam, and in the United States. And it was just like, it was awesome, but eventually started feeling like you ever get into doing something that you're very passionate about, but when you do it to the point of exhaustion, you almost get super burnt out or bored. And you want out. And so that's what happened.
You're evolving. You're evolving.
And
you've outgrown it.
Yeah, I felt like I was trapped. I knew I still wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make an impact in people's lives. But the way that I did speaking, it was just like a high-paying manual labor job. I got paid a lot of money, but it wasn't worth it, especially if I wanted to build a family and the legacy that I envisioned for myself. I don't want to be the father or the husband who's on the road 24/7 just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
You know, and so in 2017, I had a very honest conversation with myself and the vision that I had for the next 5, 10, even 15 years. And I said, what is the best business model for me to make a difference, to make an impact and a living while I could maximize time, meaning, and freedom?
And what was that?
And so I ended up teaching people what I know when it comes to speaking. And I ended up creating a proper business model where clients would fly out from all over the world to come visit me. So in the end of 2017, I retired from speaking in the education market completely, which is high schools and colleges. That's what I did initially. And then I launched my coaching and consulting practice, where I ended up helping a lot of successful 6 to 7, even 8-figure entrepreneurs, coaches, and influencers turn their message into a powerful message and use speaking as a tool to grow their business and their brand.
I love this.
Yeah.
So and I was just talking to somebody about this too, where I love how you clearly evolved. So you mastered your craft.
Yes.
You mastered your craft of speaking. That was your craft.
Yep.
You mastered it. And it's like, okay, what was the next level for you? You hit that ceiling. You're like, okay, I've done it. I've spoken. I've done all these things. I've traveled all these places. Okay, now I want to teach others to do the same.
Right.
So and I've seen that too. Like one of my friends was a dating coach for a long time. And now she's a business coach who teaches dating coaches how to create successful,
yes,
you know? So
yes.
it's that evolvement. So that's where you are.
Yeah.
And what I'd really love to do is, because you've built this success and you know how to create powerful, like I know you're big on storytelling, creating powerful message, crafting a message that really resonates with an audience and also is powerful in building a profit in your business.
Yes.
So can you talk about maybe even the ALIVE acronym that you went over when I saw you speak?
Yeah.
What is like the most important things for people who are wanting to hone their craft in speaking?
I love it. Yes, absolutely. So what I'll do in the next couple of minutes is break down what I believe are the 2 most important skill sets to master if you want to impact people in whatever way, shape, or form. Whether perceive yourself as a speaker or not, you're always going to be communicating with people. So 1 is the art of storytelling, and 2 is the business of speaking. So the art of storytelling is very simple. I could sit here and be like, well, you need to have better eye contact or body language, or you need to, share your story in this way. Simply put, if you can become more alive on stage and in person or on camera, you've already won 3/4 of the battle. And what I mean by that is my name Yahya means alive in Arabic. So one of my personal missions is to help other leaders come fully alive. And alive stands for A, authentic, L, likable, I, influential, V, vulnerable, and E, empathetic. And the difference between these character traits, if you think about any influencer or any person that you really admire, I can guarantee they're almost checking out. They check every single thing in the ALIVE acronym, right? So authentic is speaking what's on your mind, right? Saying your truth. So the best way I can describe it, and I don't want to, I just like to use this as an illustration, so there's no political affiliation here. I might trigger some people. Donald Trump, regardless of what we think of him or whatever, to the masses, he comes off as an authentic candidate.
Yeah.
Versus the other people.
He
Right?
does.
He doesn't care about being politically correct or not. It's very authentic. And authenticity trumps everything. No, like, no pun intended. Get it? And people are craving authenticity. They're just craving realness, whether we like it or not, and how it's delivered. They crave real and raw, right? But he speaks his truth and he says what's on his mind.
And that's really confidence.
Yeah.
Like, it takes confidence and courage to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like that you brought it up because it takes confidence to be authentic. And well, the difference between authenticity, because some people will say, well, what's the difference between authenticity and vulnerability? And I say authenticity is you speaking what's on your mind, speaking your truth, and that requires some confidence. Vulnerability is having the courage to wear your heart on your sleeve. So I don't see Donald Trump as a vulnerable person,
Yep.
right? But I see him as an authentic person. And I see some people who are very vulnerable, but they're not authentic, which is interesting. And that takes courage. So that's the difference between confidence and courage.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's authenticity, being authentic and vulnerable. Likeable, I'm not saying like you should win everybody's approval and acceptance and be a people pleaser. Likeable is about liking yourself enough, and so much so to the point where other people can't help but like you or dislike you for you being you.
Magnetism.
Yes.
You either attract or repel.
Right, exactly. And so that, like yourself to the point where you become very polarizing.
Yes.
And so like I'm so comfortable in my own skin, I like myself so much that some people, like even people that I know who are close to me, are like best friends and colleagues, they're like, man, the first time I met you, bro, I just thought you were the most cocky, arrogant, like you're just so self-centered. And I'm like, thank you. Yes, that's exactly, because I believe in having like a great relationship with my ego.
Yes.
My ego feels so good. Okay. I'm not like the king of acronyms, but like ego, this is how I remember stuff, so I apologize if it's cheesy in advance. But
I love cheese, by the way, so bring it on.
All right. Yeah, ego, right? EGO. Everyone's got one. I'm just not too ashamed to accept it or admit it.
Amen. I
Right?
love it.
And I think that goes a long way with your branding and with who you are. Is like when you could acknowledge what your weaknesses are, what your imperfections are, that will make you 10 times more influential. I don't see vulnerability as a weakness. I see it as a weapon that disarms everyone's opinions. Right?
Yes.
So, and that's, again, I'm jumping over, but like that's what will make you influential, which is the I part.
Yes.
It's your imperfections make you influential. Your weaknesses can be used as weapons when you not depend on them and you're not ashamed of them, right? And then E, empathy, is I'll walk a mile in your shoes. I understand where you're coming from. You know, and I think if you can have that in your presentation, how you show up for your clients, whether on stage or on camera, you can't help but connect and build a movement around people who know, like, and trust you more.
Because they feel like you care about them.
Right, and they feel more energized because of your aliveness. Right?
Yes.
And so, like, I mean, I could sit here and talk about NLP and language and, you know, reframing this and all that, but honestly, like, let's just keep it simple. Simplify to amplify.
Yep.
Simplify the approach to amplify your results. If you want to show up more powerfully, just become more alive.
And I think that's really the first step anyways.
Yep.
So people will jump ahead and be like, okay, let me focus on all the ums I'm saying and all the likes and all the things, but they're not even, you've got to be, the effectiveness comes first. Then you can work on the efficiency part.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got to first be effective for people to even listen to what you're saying.
And in my opinion, there's no point on working on that if you can't connect to people first. You know, if you look at business in general, people buy people. I don't care if it's a product or a service or whatever you're selling, people buy people.
Yes.
And if you can't if your brand doesn't have a set level of humanness or humanity, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to move the next step with you. You know?
Yeah.
So that's basically the art of storytelling. It's just to become more alive. The business of speaking.
Before we get into that really quick,
yes.
I'd love to know, do you ever get nervous still when
All
you're
the
about
time.
to speak? You do?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, great, perfect. Okay, me too.
Yeah.
What do you do in those moments? Like,
Yeah.
can you share with our listeners and watchers, like, what do you do? Is there any tricks that
Two things.
brings you out?
One, being nervous is normal. It means I'm human and that I care. Everybody experiences nervousness, regardless of what it is. I have a choice. Do I channel that nervous energy into anxiety and fear, or excitement and action? Right? So I always tell, if somebody wants to work with me and they realize, like, oh my God, it's how much to work with you? And I'm like, yeah, it's this much. They're like, oh my God, I feel so nervous. And I'm like, on the call, it's like, that's normal. You know, not taking action is a choice. What do you want to do with that energy? Right? And it's like, just if we can normalize nervousness, I think everybody would be like, oh, okay, there's nothing wrong with me.
Yes.
It's okay.
Embracing it.
Embracing it, exactly. Don't demonize it.
Yep.
It is what it is. And the second thing is, if you can't fix it, feature it. So if I'm nervous and I'm on stage, oh man, I don't know if you guys can tell. Like legit, if I went to the bathroom and I pissed on myself, right, and I literally had to go up on stage, and you could tell that I pissed on myself, I'm not gonna pretend that there's not a, like, either I'm gonna take my pants off, change my pants, or if I don't have enough time, like, yo, I'm like, listen, let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room. I wanted to tell you guys that I spilled a lot of water on my pants, but the truth is I just pissed on myself because I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's so
yeah.
normal. He's human. Like, oh, it's kind of like weird that he pissed on himself. But like, you see, like I can't change it.
Yep.
And there are certain things that people, it's interesting. There's a quote that I love by Dr. Robert Holden. He says, no amount of self-improvement can make up for a lack of self-acceptance.
I love that.
And many people are trying to improve themselves. They're like,
as if they're not enough.
right. And I'm all game for personal development, but I think there's a huge difference between self-improvement and personal development. A seed, as it's growing, doesn't have to improve itself. It's just developing and growing according to its nature and its essence. Humans feel like they have to improve because there's something flawed within them. And so for me, I'm like, I'm a masterpiece that's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and I love that. I was just talking to a beautiful woman yesterday, and about how she wasn't embracing where she is right now because she was so fixated on where she wanted to be.
Yep.
And I'm like, look, you got to embrace where you are to get to where you want to be, because now you're going to create a pattern where no matter where you end up, you're going to always want. You're not going to be satisfied, and you're always going to be looking ahead.
Right.
So it's like at some point you've got to embrace it, and you've got to channel it. Like what you said, what I heard was like really transforming your pain to your purpose.
Yes.
Like using your pain as your platform.
Yep, your message into your message.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power that we have when we understand that we are the author of our own stories, and regardless of what ends up happening, there's a purpose and there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
And our job is to like walk our talk, live our truth, and do our best to be as human as possible along the way.
Yeah, and I love that. And it creates connection.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I've learned early on in my career, not as early as I would like to, probably like later on in my career, is that I bought into my own hype. I put myself on a pedestal. I felt like, oh, well, I'm a coach and I'm a speaker and I'm a teacher and I'm a trainer, and I have to create this illusion or this facade that I have my shit figured out better than most people. And the truth is I don't. I just have the courage to express and share like what I've learned along the way. And just because I'm on this stage doesn't give you the right to put me on a pedestal.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
really embracing that you're human, and nervousness is totally normal.
Absolutely.
Just brings that down, grounds you for a second. And is there anything else that you do?
Yeah, remember that if you're preparing for something, people don't want a presentation, they want to start a conversation. So just keep it as like, I just did a live coaching session today here, and the girl that was on stage, she felt like she had to be someone that she wasn't in order to come up more polished. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Who's one of your best friends, or who's someone that you really want to support or serve? And she's like, oh, I imagine a girl named Natasha. And I'm like, okay, Natasha, can you picture her in your mind? Yes. Okay. How would you talk to her? And the moment she talked to her, the way that she would normally talk to her, her message landed. Where before it was like, it sounds like I'm listening to an infomercial, right? Because she's trying to present a certain way. Stop.
And that's inauthentic.
Yeah, it's so weird, and people can sense that. And that's why like I don't vibe with a lot of like the coaches and the gurus out there who teach speaking and presenting a certain way, because they focus on the mechanics of it, and I can't vibe with that because I can see through that.
Oh, I love that you said that.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm like, ditch the script and just embody your message. Like the
who
message
you
is inside
are.
of you. Right, exactly. It's like, stop trying to be someone that you're not.
I love that. And I love it too when you're picturing somebody who you really know that you want, you know you can help them, you know you can support them. It's like, how would I talk to that person and talk to your audience
You're always
that way?
speaking to one person. I don't care if I'm in an audience of 10,000 people, my messaging is still speaking to that one person in the audience that I want to impact.
Yes.
That will go, I'd rather go very deep than very, very wide.
Yeah.
You know, because if I go very wide, it's very general and vague. You all, da-da-da. But I know I'm going in there to talk to that one person, because at the end of my speech, what I want somebody to say is, oh my God, I felt like you were speaking to me. And I was.
Yes, I love that.
Thank you.
I'd love to share too. So I have similar ones as you. And the first one is like when I'm about to speak and I start to get nervous, it's because my fear is judgment. That's a big one. I'm fear that they're going to judge me, they're going to reject me. And then I check in and I'm like, if I'm worried about that, who am I making this about?
I love that. Yeah.
I'm making it about me, and it's not about me. I'm here to serve.
Exactly.
I'm on stage to give value, to serve my audience, my people.
Yeah.
And so I have this saying, I say, when in doubt, focus out.
Ooh, I love that.
So that's my thing. Before I go on stage, I'm like, when in doubt, focus out. When in doubt, focus out.
And you bring a really good point. First of all, I love that. That's so dope. If you're going to be sharing your story, share your story in service to your audience, not to serve your ego. As ironic as that sounds. Because I'm all about using my ego, but from a point of like, I'm not going to, kill my ego. I'm going to embrace my ego as a dear friend, but I know when to check my ego and use it in service to humanity. Like, it's weird. Like, when you see me on stage, I come off as like, oh, this guy who thinks he's a shit.
It's so good, though.
Right?
It's so good. I love it.
But here's what's interesting about me. I'm like a contradiction. People come up afterward like, hey, man, your message, your story, like, it really hit home. I get almost shy from receiving that. Like it's weird. Like, I feel like, oh, thank you. I don't know how to receive it, And I think there's that level of humility that is required to have that like healthy balance of, the ego and also your vulnerability.
Yes.
But always use your story in service to your audience. That's the whole thing. It's like, figure out who you're speaking to, what problem are they going through, and then take your perspective by sharing your story in service to them.
So good.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have a framework called the Story Proof Framework. We won't dive into it like in depth here, but it's like 5 steps.
Yeah, can you share that?
Yeah.
Because you have a downloadable. I don't know if it's
I'll give it to
available.
you. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
It's part of my 5-step blueprint to become a world-class speaker. So story proof, it's like when you're proofreading something, like the final draft, you're proofreading. You want to make sure that, you dot your I's, you cross your T's, but there's clarity in your messaging, right? Like you understand what's going on, who you're speaking to. So I use a story proof framework if I need to speak for 60 minutes, 1 minute, on camera, on stage, in an interview. It's like, okay, who's the person that I'm speaking to? That's the first P. What is the problem that they're going through? Get really clear. That's the second P. Third P is what's the perspective that I'm going to offer based on my experience or somebody else's experience that I can share. So that's where your story comes in.
Yep.
Fourth P is what's the process that's going to help them go from their problem to the fifth P, the promised land. Right? And that's it. It's a simple thing. And you could see every speaker that you'll see, they go through it in some way, shape, or form. But they use their story as if like, hey, this is not just about me, but this is what I've gone through. I get where you're going through, what you're going through.
Yeah. So so it's person, problem, process.
Person, problem, perspective, process, promise.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And so the perspective piece is when
share your story.
That's your story, what you've gone through.
Yeah, but imagine if like it was like, and it depends on the context, right? Like if you're being interviewed and somebody asks you, hey, so can you tell me a little bit about your story, right? That's one thing. But if I'm on stage, I want to make sure, and nobody really knows who I am, and I don't have that rapport with the audience. Before I just go into my story, I'm gonna be like, have you ever felt this way, whatever that way is, depressed or anxious, confused about what you're going through? Now I'm identifying with the person's problem, whoever I'm speaking to. If you do feel like that, you're not alone. I remember when I was when I was 5 years old, I was going through the same exact thing. Now I share my perspective, and it's like, and the reason why I'm sharing that is not to brag or boast, but it's to say, hey, you're not alone.
It's in service
exactly.
to them. Yeah.
And here's what I've learned, and now I get into my process.
Yes. And I love that because you're having them feel seen and heard and understood. Like, oh, he gets me.
Yes.
And now their ears are open, their hearts are opening up.
Exactly.
And then you get to deliver your perspective. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the art of storytelling, we got that piece. And then now business.
The business of speaking. Oh, man, speaking. I know some people, they don't necessarily perceive themselves as speakers or they want to be speaking on stages. Some people do. I just think speaking is such a phenomenal tool and skill set for in any line of work that you're doing, in a relationship, in business. We're always communicating with each other, and whether our message lands or is being received, that's entirely dependent on the goal of, like, the way that I see it is like a sniper, right? A sniper knows his target, finds his target, and then shoots for the target. It has an aim, right? Speaking should be the same way. And with the business of speaking, you want to figure out like what is the proper business model for speaking. So the way that I see speaking as a platform is you have two different types of stages. You have, online and offline, but you can have your own stage, or you can get on other people's stages.
Okay. Yeah.
To share your message, right? So for example, where we're at right now, I'm on another person's stage. I'm on your stage, right? This is your platform, and I get to share my story, and I get to speak my truth to your audience. If I had my own show online, right, that would be my stage, and I get to invite people, or I can share my offers or my services or my stories with them. And so when it comes to speaking, the business part of speaking, you just figure out like, do you want to get on other people's stages, or do you want to build your own stage? What does that look like, right? So for me, the beginning of my career, I was really good at getting on other people's stages.
Can you share how you did that?
Yes, absolutely.
I know the listeners want to know.
Yeah. The most important marketing material that you'll need as a speaker is a demo video. Think of it like this. A speaker is kind of like a movie. I normally wouldn't go see a movie unless I see the trailer. The demo video is a trailer for the speaker. Whether you consider yourself just as a speaker or speaking is a part of what you do within your personal brand, you should still have a demo video.
And where does this play? Where do you put this?
You could put it on your website. Really, it doesn't matter if you have a website or not. Depending on who the buyer is, the decision maker, that's who the video should be tailored towards.
Got it. So you're
not your
sending
audience.
that to everyone you're reaching out to. You're sending out your demo.
Exactly. To the
That's
people,
awesome.
and this is an important point, to the decision maker. The person who's going to give me the paycheck, or the person who's inviting me to speak on their platform. Not the audience that I'm supposed to be speaking to. And I think that's an important point that most people miss.
Yes.
Right? They create content or a video, but it's not speaking to the audience, the consumer, the direct consumer, but not necessarily the person who's going to buy.
Yes.
In the speaking game, if you're being invited, you want to get booked and paid to speak, you need to really get clear on, okay, who's the decision maker? What do they need to see? What do they need to hear? How do they need to receive my ability to speak? And it's usually a 2-minute clip, and they need to see, okay, can this person hold a crowd's attention? Are they gonna make me look like a rock star? Are they gonna bore my audience? Are they gonna is their message congruent or aligned with the theme that I have for this stage?
Do you have an example of this on your website
Yes.
if people were to go to it?
Yeah, and in fact,
Okay, cool.
if you go to worldclassspeaker.com/blueprint, I go through the 5-step blueprint to become a world-class speaker. In the 5th step, I actually show examples of in the 4th step, I showed examples of what a demo video should look like. And on the 5th step, I talk about where that should go on your website.
Got it.
Yeah, so it just breaks it down. It's super simple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So can you also share, like when you reach out to an event and you want to speak on their stage, how do you usually approach that?
Let's just say I'm a health and fitness coach. I work with a lot of online health and fitness coaches, right? They say, I have a coaching business, blah, 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 but I have a message to share, and I want to share it with the world. First thing I would do is I would say, Google is your best friend. Go to Google and type in your niche or your niche, health and fitness, and then use the keywords assemblies, conferences, workshops, conventions. So health and fitness conventions, health and fitness conferences, health and fitness workshops. And then I look at Google and I find certain events that are going on, right? This is the HubSpot of where I can share my message because it's aligned with my brand, as an example. And if it's not health and fitness, it could be another niche, right? It could be real estate. It could be sales. It could be fashion. It could be relationship conference or workshop or convention. And then I go on a page and I call this gold mining. I look for the gold. So I'm trying to find a contact info of like just a phone number or an email. And then I go and I say, okay, cool. This is this person's email. This is the phone number. Let me try the phone number. And I still don't know who the decision maker is. So I call.
Would you recommend calling over emailing?
Both. I recommend both.
Okay.
But I would call first. And the reason why I would call first is because I could find a way to figure out who the decision maker is immediately.
Yeah.
So I'd call. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hi. Blah, 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 blah. Hi. Yeah, my name is Yahya. I'm just curious. Do you know who's in charge of hiring speakers for your next workshop, assembly, conference, blah, 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 blah. I'm not sure, but let me forward you to this person. Okay, before you forward me to that person, can I have their extension or their email just in case we get disconnected? Now I got decision maker. So
Love it.
They pass the baton. I go and I contact them again. Now this is like outbound marketing, cold calling.
Yes.
People don't like that. They just want to be like, I just want people to contact me. Right? And I would say your first 100 speaking engagements are the most challenging to get. But once you leverage those speaking engagements and you get those as resources to propel your other speaking engagements, then you're good. But just do the work for your first initially. Right?
And question on that too. Do you recommend Eventbrite? Have you heard of Eventbrite?
I have heard of Eventbrite, and that all depends on your business.
Okay.
You can't. Eventbrite it's more of like if you want to do your own live events, you can.
They post all of the events on there too. So I was wondering if you've ever used it.
I've never used it because I was in the education market. I didn't know if Eventbrite would serve the education market. What I did was I just went on Google and I just did that. If I was in the corporate market, that would be the strategy. If I was in the real estate market, right, or niche, I would figure out where can I find people who are interested in real estate, or where can I find people who are interested in learning more about real estate, and I'd go there. And
something too, I don't know if you've done this, but I will reach out to speakers that are in my niche too, and like collab with them and say like, hey, if I hear of any speaking events, I'll let you know. Do the same, like creating that and asking them like if you see them speaking at an event, creating that.
There's ways you can do that. Another way is just to protect your time is find 5 speakers who are speaking around similar topic in your niche, and if they have a speaking page, go to their testimonial review page and look at the people who gave them testimonials.
So smart.
And if you're looking for keywords like coordinator, meeting planner, host, CEO, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you Google their names and reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you hired or brought in blah, 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 blah to speak at this event. Did you like them? I know them, or I've seen their work. And you say, awesome. It's like, yeah, I do something very similar.
Like
I just talk about that.
warming up the conversation.
Exactly. And they're qualified, meaning that they've already been proven to bring in a speaker before.
Yes, I love
so there
that.
are different ways that you can go about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's one way of saying it. So when you don't know a speaker that's been there, what do you say when you do get the contact person that's in charge of the event? What do you say to them when you finally get them?
Have you brought in speakers in the past? Who was your last speaker? How did that go? Okay, wonderful. When are you looking for a speaker? When is your next event? What are you looking for in a speaker? So I'd actually interview them and ask them these qualifying questions to see like what they're looking for.
Okay.
And then I'd listen to what they're saying in the language that they're saying it in, and I would feed it back. So I never want to tell them what I think is best and what I do, because that's you're missing the point when it comes to marketing, right? Marketing is all about entering the conversation in your ideal buyer's mind and making it easier for them to feel like she or he found the right person.
Okay, yes.
And so it's like, okay, I understand. So what I do is, and I would just feedback certain, like my messaging, the messaging what she was looking for. And I tie that. So I could say like, hey, I talk about self-love and self-confidence and self-worth, and I talk about finding my mom, but they don't care about that just yet.
Oh, yeah, this
right?
is good.
That what they care about is, I want my students to get better grades in school. I want my team to perform better. I want them to increase the bottom line. I want them, you see? And so I'm using their language to be like, okay, that's exactly what my message does.
Yes.
It helps them does this benefit, outcome that they want.
I'm going to draw a connection here.
Yeah.
So how you talk about speaking and serving your audience, you're actually approaching these event hosts, let's call them, the same way.
Yes.
So you're saying, how can I service them the best way? So you're listening to what they're looking for, aka when you're listening to what the problems are of your audience, right? And you're saying, okay, cool. Now you're delivering a message in service to them to provide value. It's the same thing. I love it.
Yeah, it's like the story proof framework is for everything: marketing, branding, copywriting, sales. It's woven in it, so you can't go wrong. It's all about messaging at the end of the day.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's one way of doing it if you want to get invited to speak. What I've learned is it's powerful. It's even more powerful to be your own platform, your own stage. And you do that through social media by building a personal brand. And when you start building a celebrity personal brand where you have an audience,
Yes.
you have leverage, you have buy-in there, you can actually charge more.
And you're talking about it now entering the event space and creating events like
Yes,
Joel and Emil.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. But that takes a longer time to build a bigger platform. So there's some people who might not have a quote unquote personal brand online through social media, or they're not a coach, or they're not an influencer, they're not none of that. They don't use social media. So that was my world. Nobody knew me on social media for 8.5 years, but I was a very successful speaker. Right? I was getting paid. Like, all I had was Facebook, but it was just for my family and my friends. Then that was it. I never used social media as a tool to build my brand. And in 2017, 2018, that's when I started getting strategic with social media as a vehicle to amplify my message online and on stage.
Yep.
And so now I'm in a position where I'm even more selective with what stages I want to get on. It's not because I have to, it's because I want to and I choose to. And the stages that I get on, they're very aligned with the people that I'm serving with my consulting and my coaching programs. Same principle. So now instead of like I'm speaking to high school or college students, I'm speaking to an audience of entrepreneurs, coaches, influencers. A lot of my clients are those type of people. So I only get on stages that are aligned with that. I get asked so many times like, hey, can you do an interview? The first thing I say, who's your audience?
Yeah.
How engaged are they? Are they aligned with the message that I want to share? Because it makes no sense for me to get on a stage and the message is not going to be received by the right people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, maybe initially to get some practice in.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. Well, my whole thing about practice is might as well get paid to practice.
That's true.
If doctors can do it, private practice, why can't we?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my first speech, I actually got paid for it.
Oh yeah, I remember you
$100.
saying this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was $100, but that was my first speech ever. I was like,
Okay,
this is
yeah,
crazy. It was so terrible.
Yeah, and you've really elevated. I remember. So Yahya shared how he went from you shared your incremental. You actually shared with us the exact number of values.
Yep.
And how it increased. And it's just he started right at 100.
100. That was my
Yeah.
first. It wasn't even zero. And I think this is an important
Yeah.
point. I never recommend doing anything for free. I always say, understand what your price point is or your value is. I mean, we're always we're valuable. Your market value. That's what I mean. Like, just choose what your price is and then negotiate from there. Because you're coming from a place of value.
Yes.
Immediately.
And you're coming, and that's huge because it's a worthiness conversation.
mhm.
I actually love something you said yesterday when maybe that was today. No, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
You said you're valuable because you exist.
Yes.
I love
Thank you.
that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Oh, my
I
pleasure.
literally tweeted it like right away.
And it's so true. And I think it's one of my main messages to drive home, whether it be personally or professionally. Because a lot of people, they feel like they're not valuable unless they have to produce some form of value, or they have to perform or be someone that they're not in order to be accepted or valuable. I think if everyone accepts and embodies that they're valuable because they exist, they're valuable because they're just alive. The fact that they're breathing, they're valuable. And if somebody wants to challenge me on that, I will say, think of someone in your life. If you were to remove yourself from the equation, from their life, how would their life be impacted in this moment? Is it a cousin? Is it a niece? Is it a nephew? Is it a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a coworker? Like, if you were just to remove that conversation that you had with them yesterday, the day before, it would be the whole trajectory would be completely different because you weren't there. So
That's actually a powerful exercise. Even just going to them and asking.
Yeah.
Like, just because a lot of people don't even realize how valuable they are.
Right.
And it's true. Like, in just moment to moment conversations with your loved ones, with people who care about you. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Well, Yahya, you're amazing, and you've dropped so much wisdom in this short time we've been
thank you.
talking. But
Thank you.
we're nearing the end of the episode. But before we go, I'd love for you to just share, like, just anything that comes to you. It doesn't have to be like your top most important blah blah, but just whatever comes to you right now, channel that through and share with us a big takeaway that you want our watchers, our listeners to receive in this moment.
Since you're listening to this right now, I don't know where you're at in your life at this point, personally or professionally. But if you're going through some pain, if you feel like your life is a mess right now, that you can turn your pain into a purpose and your mess into a powerful message by taking complete ownership for everything that's going on in your life. And you can be a vehicle for transformation. You can be a vehicle for inspiration, but not putting yourself on a pedestal, but by showcasing and sharing your journey along the way with the people that you feel called to serve. And maybe that person that you feel called to serve is just you, a younger version of you or a future version of you. And that's who needs to hear your message. For me, that's how it started. I wanted to speak to the younger version of me, but I also wanted to show up as the future version of me. And that's what enabled me to show up powerfully in the present moment.
Oh, wow.
And so just show up and become unapologetically self-expressed and unconditionally love yourself. You're worth it.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I felt that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This is great. I'm so excited. Honored.
Yes. And before you go, share the, did you have the link?
Yeah. So it's worldclassspeaker.com/blueprint. If you want to download the 5 steps to become a world-class speaker.
And how can they connect with you?
Instagram is my main platform, but I'm also on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. My name is kind of complicated to spell out. It's YAH, like happy and healthy. YAHYA, B as in boy, AKKAR.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.